Hey, what's going on in here? How's everybody doing? Hey, I like that. I like that. You can tell this is left for me last week or something. That's down pretty low. Or maybe you like it that low. Is that for you?
All right. Encourage. Come on. That sounds like something we all need in our lives, right? Yeah, come on. Well, hey guys, I am excited to be here with you this morning. For some of you that might not have met me, maybe on the internet or maybe you're in the room, my name is Pastor Theron. I'm actually pretty new here, and this is my very first time getting to preach here at this church, and I'm excited. I am excited. Well, we're going to continue in our series in the book of Joshua, and I get the privilege of walking us through chapters 5 and 6. Now, there's a lot to observe in these couple chapters, so we're not going to be able to get to everything. There's a lot that we could camp on and hang out at, but we're going to try and go for the brunt of the story, for the bigger picture here. And so we're going to just observe some things. I'm going to share with you guys some observations, but we're going to be in chapters 5 and 6. So this morning I want to start us off by looking at chapter 5, verses 2 and 3. If you guys got your Bibles, you can go ahead and pull it up. It's also going to be here on the screen. It says, "At the time the Lord said to Joshua, 'Make flint knives and circumcise the sons of Israel.'" Second time. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the sons of Israel at Gib, grandmaster of all things. He agrees to train Daniel's son. And when he decides that he's going to get trained, Daniel's son shows up excited, ready to karate. Anyone in here ever learn karate? Yeah, come on. But Daniel gets there, and Mr. Miyagi has...
Wax on, wax off. Show me penta fence. Up, down. Up, down. Up, down. Other side. Look eye. Always look eye. Show me penta house. Side. Lock wrist. Side. Yes. Show me wax on, wax off. That! Show me penta fence. That! Show me side to side. That! Show me sand or floor.
by circumcising their sons. So the 40 years that they were wandering, they did not keep the covenant that God established with them. They didn't circumcise their sons. And so we see in the beginning of Joshua 5, all of the men of war who were outside of the covenant because they were not circumcised. And so the entire generation of Israelite men of war were not in covenant with the Lord, which was not okay. They had to fix this. And so the Lord tells them, get circumcised. And here's why this doesn't make sense, okay? Here's why this doesn't make sense. Why this is to the Israelites. Let me paint this picture for you. We're all back in the day, okay? And we are all Israelites. And we're the generation before us was disobedient. But our whole lives, we were told stories that we would take the land that God promised our fathers. So we grew up with that story. We were also men of war. So we have been trained for war. Our whole life has been a giant preparation for a battle, a holy battle. The day we would be redeeming the sins of our father's generation. We were good at what we did. Okay, we knew how to handle swords. We knew how to hold shields. We were men of war, and we knew how to do this. We basically kick butt and take names, okay? And God is on our side. So let me be very clear when I say the very last thing that we would do before we would go take a city is to wound ourselves. We would not say, hey, look, there's Jericho. We're going to take that as soon as we get the order. All right, let's take a knife and cut ourselves. Have you ever started a fight with wounding yourself? No, that seems unconventional. It does not make sense. And so their fearless leader came to them and said, hey guys, I got to take a knife and I got to cut you. So yeah, about that, right? But here's the thing, you guys. God sees what we cannot see. God sees things that he wants to accomplish. The men of Israel that were about to take the land had to be circumcised before they took Jericho, or they would be living in the same reproach as their fathers. They had to be set apart. God prepares us in ways that don't make sense sometimes, right? This did not make sense to them. To wound themselves before a battle would be just out of the question, right? But God sees differently, okay? And so as we move on in our passage, we see that the Israelites celebrate Passover after they're all circumcised. And then once that's done, Joshua is visited. He's visited by the commander of the Lord's army. We see in Joshua 5, verses 13 and 15. It says, when Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in hand. And Joshua went to him and said, are you for us or for our adversaries? And he said, no, I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Now I have come. And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and said to him, what does my Lord say to his servant? And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy. And Joshua did so. Now, this isn't a major point in our time today, but it was cool and significant enough that I wanted to just share it with you. There's some speculation among theologians that this was not an angel, but that this was actually, in fact, Jesus. And so we do know for sure, we know for sure, do we know for sure that this is Jesus? No, we don't. But I liked the observations that some of the people in the studies that I was looking at made, which first would be that we all know that Jesus is going to lead the Lord's army, right? When he comes back, he is the commander, he is the chief. He is the commander-in-chief, and he is leading the army. And this passage just stated that that is the title of who this person is, right? Also, every account that I've ever seen of when an angel shows himself before man, there's always been fear. Always, they fall to their face. They're scared of what they're seeing, right? It's not human. But Joshua he wasn't afraid. In fact, he didn't fall on his face until after this commander stated who he was. And what Joshua did, is he actually fell out of reverence and worship, not out of fear. So one can only speculate, but I think the big kicker here is we know that in the next passage, Joshua had an encounter with the Lord. And it says, the Lord said to Joshua. These line up to where this, he said, take his sandals off, right? And then the very next part is the command that the Lord gave him. And so, I don't know, I feel like that's Jesus talking. But that's just me, and you guys can do your own studies on that. But I thought it was interesting enough to share with you. Anyway, so the commander gives the orders. Have you ever taken orders in this room? Anyone? Anyone ever taken orders? Yeah. I'm just going to be real honest. I hate orders. Okay? My wiring, the way that I am made, I will do anything for you if you ask. But the second that you demand, the second that you declare or assume, man, do I start getting red. But I'm really good at hiding it too. I will obey, right? But like, man, you give me an order, I'm just like, right? But here's the thing, I get extra frustrated when I think that your orders are ridiculous, right? Has anyone ever been in that situation where it's like, okay, I know I have to listen and obey, but they don't know what they're doing. What on earth? That doesn't make any sense. And so this brings me to point number 2. Friends, we need to listen and obey. Listen and obey. There's this thing that we teach our children, me and Jory, and it's a simple phrase. It's listen and obey. And what this is we're trying to teach our children to focus on what we're saying and then do as we've asked. And my wife came up with it. It's not, I can't take any credit. That's why they call him the better half. But oftentimes, Ty, our 4-year-old, after we have said listen and obey, she'll go, why? Right? Anyone ever been in the room with children and you tell them to do something and they're just like, why? Right? I know parents, you've been there. Heck, maybe even some of us have been the ones that are going, why? Right? But here's the thing. We aren't always called to understand, but we are always called to obey. Okay? We aren't always called to understand, but we are always called to obey. Joshua 6, 1 through 7. Let's look at this. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once. Thus shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. And the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets." Is that it? There's more, yes. "And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat. And the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. So Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, 'Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord.' And he said to the people, 'Go forward, march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the ark of the Lord.'" Wow, that was a mouthful. So I don't know about you, but those orders seem kind of crazy. Go ahead and march around a wall for 6 days. Don't make a peep, don't scream, don't yell. On the 7th day, I want you to do it 7 times. And then there's got to be an order to the priests and the army and the ark and the horn, right? And then on the 7th lap, on the 7th day, go ahead and make a big old shout, and I'm going to break the law of physics and make a wall fall flat. Does that make any sense to us today? No, and I'm sure it didn't make any sense to them that day. That is kind of what I'm getting at when I say when you get orders and they seem ridiculous, right? Like, this doesn't actually make any sense, but